You are listening to Steel of War. This program presents a factual, archival record of American armored cars that entered active service during World War II, documented with neutral analysis and historical accuracy. During World War II, the United States Army employed armored cars for reconnaissance, command liaison, convoy escort, and security missions. These vehicles emphasized mobility, communication, and battlefield awareness rather than direct combat. This documentary records every U.S. armored car that was formally standardized and used in operational service between 1939 and 1945. M1 Armored Car. The M1 armored car was one of the earliest standardized U.S. armored reconnaissance vehicles of the interwar period. Built on a commercial truck chassis, it featured a lightly armored body and a rotating turret armed with machine guns. The vehicle was primarily used for training and limited stateside duties. Although technically obsolete by the outbreak of World War II, several M1 armored cars remained in secondary roles during the early war period, helping shape U.S. reconnaissance doctrine before being replaced by more capable designs. M2 Armored Car. The M2 armored car was developed as an improved successor to the M1, offering better armor layout and enhanced crew ergonomics. It retained a wheeled configuration and turret-mounted machine guns. The M2 saw limited service during the early stages of U.S. mobilization and was mainly employed for training and internal security. By 1941, it was considered outdated for frontline use and was gradually withdrawn as newer scout and armored car designs entered production. This is Steel of War. Subscribe for continued access to documented military history presented without interpretation or dramatization. M3 Scout Car. The M3 Scout Car marked a shift in U.S. reconnaissance philosophy. Rather than a turreted armored car, it was an open-topped armored vehicle optimized for speed and communication. Armed with multiple machine gun mounts, the M3 served as a reconnaissance, command, and escort vehicle. It entered service in 1941 and was widely issued to U.S. Army units in the early years of the war. Its mobility made it valuable, though its light armor limited survivability. M3A1 Scout Car. The M3A1 Scout Car was the most widely used U.S. armored reconnaissance vehicle of the early war years. Improvements included a reinforced hull, improved engine cooling, and standardized machine gun skate rails. The M3A1 served in North Africa, Europe, and the Pacific in reconnaissance, command transport, and convoy escort roles. It was also supplied in large numbers to Allied nations under Lend-Lease, making it one of the most internationally recognized U.S. armored vehicles of the war. You are listening to Steel of War, a channel dedicated to preserving accurate records of military equipment used in documented conflicts. M8 Light Armored Car. M8 Greyhound. The M8 light armored car, commonly known as the Greyhound, was the primary U.S. armored car of World War II. Entering service in 1943, it featured a six-wheeled configuration, sloped armor, and a fully enclosed turret mounting a 37mm gun. Designed for reconnaissance and screening missions, the M8 combined speed with moderate firepower. It saw extensive service in Europe and limited use in the Pacific, becoming the standard U.S. armored car by the later stages of the war. M20 Armored Utility Car. The M20 Armored Utility Car was a turretless variant of the M8 Greyhound. By removing the turret, the M20 provided additional internal space for command, reconnaissance, and liaison duties. It was commonly used as a command vehicle for armored and reconnaissance units. Retaining the same mobility and armor profile as the M8, the M20 offered flexibility while sacrificing direct fire capability, fulfilling a critical support role within U.S. formations. This archival presentation is brought to you by Steel of War. Follow the channel for structured documentation of military vehicles used in global conflicts. T17E1 Staghound, U.S. service use. The T17E1 Staghound was a heavy armored car developed in the United States and produced primarily for Allied use. While most examples served with British and Commonwealth forces, a limited number were retained by U.S. forces for evaluation and training during World War II. The Staghound featured heavier armor and a turret-mounted 37mm gun, emphasizing protection over speed. Its design influenced later armored car concepts despite limited American operational deployment. T-17 Armored Car. The T-17 armored car was a heavy armored car developed in the United States during World War II. A small number were retained by U.S. forces for testing, evaluation, and limited service use. Armed with a 37mm gun and featuring heavier armor than earlier designs, the T-17 emphasized protection. Most production vehicles were supplied to Allied forces, but its evaluation influenced later U.S. armored car development. M38 Armored Car. The M38 armored car was an experimental wheeled armored reconnaissance vehicle developed during the war. Although not widely deployed, it remained in limited service status during World War II for testing and familiarization. The M38 represented U.S. efforts to improve armored car mobility and protection, though it did not reach mass production before the end of hostilities. The armored cars used by the United States during World War II reflected a gradual evolution from lightly protected interwar vehicles to purpose-built reconnaissance platforms. Emphasizing speed, communication, and battlefield awareness, these vehicles supported U.S. forces across multiple theaters. Together, they represent the complete and documented record of U.S. armored cars that entered active service during the Second World War. You have been listening to Steel of War. Subscribe to continue exploring verified military history through neutral archival narration.